Welcome back. Good evening. God bless you and God bless America. I am your host, Steve, and this is the Liberal Letdown. Don't forget, go ahead and follow me at liberal_letdown on Twitter. Talk to me, send email, articles, stuff you want me to talk about, the Liberal Letdown at gmail.com. And don't forget to follow, subscribe on Gab and the Red Society at the Liberal Letdown. Here we go, everybody. We're going to get into it. First topic today. Canada now wants U.S. to enforce its immigration laws to protect Canada. Okay. To protect Canada. Interesting. Okay, here we go. Canada wants closer scrutiny of Nigerian visitors, many of whom eventually migrate to Canada. Specifically Nigerian? Interesting. Canadian authorities, concerned with the increasing number of illegal immigrants now straining their resources, want the United States to do a better job enforcing its own immigration law and vetting visitors from Nigeria so that they don't eventually make their way to Canadian soil. According to the Washington Post, since it's become more difficult to stay in the United States on a temporary visa, Nigerians are requesting tourist visas from the United States, which already requires a certain amount of vetting. But before those visas fully expire, then Nigerians are walking into Canada, where they are requesting asylum. Interesting. So here's some fun things, because I've talked about Justin Trudeau before, not on the Liberal Letdown, but on the Steven Tyler Show. It's hysterical. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who, if anybody's ever talked to me about Trudeau, he's the poorest excuse for a man in the entire world. He is awful. He is awful. Openly said that Canada was open to anybody who was seeking asylum. He got on a podium and said this at a press conference. He did. He said, everybody is welcome. United States won't take you. We will take you. Before winter hit here in Northeast Ohio, this last winter, Canadians had put up tent cities for all of their immigrants coming in because they could not house them effectively. They couldn't vet them, in a reasonable amount of time. And they couldn't afford to keep them, so they would have to wait in order to accept all these people coming into their country. That actually happened. There was a reporter in Canada who was talking about all this, and it actually happened. They had tent cities for these people, and it was getting cold. Up here, I can only imagine what it was in Canada. Now Canadian officials want the United States, which already vets tourist visa recipients, to kindly ask Nigerian tourists about their Canadian travel plans so that the U.S. can catch potential illegal immigrants at our border. Interesting. So, to my understanding, Canada isn't calling anybody illegal immigrants. Nobody. They're finally running out of money and housing and the ability to make sure that people that aren't going to come in and ISIS fighters like they have currently in Canada, that Trudeau's, they said that they're working closely with law enforcement to manage these people. And another thing that nobody even in this article realized, Canada's singling out people from one country, from Nigeria. But Trudeau spoke out against Trump's comments asking about why we would allow so many people from certain countries, and now they're telling us to enforce our immigration laws more effectively because they don't have any. In the article it states, I didn't quote this in my show notes, but in the article it states that you could literally get in a taxi from upper New York and just drive across the border into Quebec and you're good. And then you can just wait for asylum. Just tell them you're there to get in. It says it in the article. Go ahead and read it. I'll post it with the show. Next topic. So for everybody who's been hearing, interested in Kanye and all the stuff that he has to offer, we're going to talk about him a little bit. And I'm probably going to say some things that you guys don't want to hear. or that you disagree with, and I'm okay with that. I don't mind, being ridiculed a little bit. And if you have different way of going about things, by all means, please let me know. Got my Gmail. Send it. Maxine Waters tells Kanye to shut up. He talks out of turn, should maybe not have so much to say. So, let's take that one in. She's a representative from California. She's obviously a Democrat. If you know anything about politics, you know Maxine Waters is just dumb. She tore into Kanye West for West heresy in questioning the hegemony of the Democratic Party among black Americans, which has become apparent. I really didn't think it was this bad until a prominent black person stood up like this. And just the backlash has been insane. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to quote what she was saying in her Politico article that was wrote about her. Asked by a Politico writer about West, Waters stated, Kanye West is a very creative young man, but we also think that sometimes West talks out of turn, and perhaps he needs some assistance in helping him to formulate some of his thoughts. We don't think that he actually means to do harm. Yes, you heard that right, harm. But we're not sure he really understands the impact of what he's saying at the time that he's saying it, and how that weighs on particularly the African American community and for young people in general. She continued, I understand that he is getting pushback from a lot of young people on the internet, but we're hopeful that his creativity will continue to be demonstrated in his work. And I think maybe we should think twice about politics, or he should think twice about politics, and maybe not have so much to say. The entire point Kanye was making, at least with the initial tweet, is that all he wants to do is be able to feel, believe, and say whatever he wants. That's it. He's not saying he hates Democrats. He never said that. He said, I just kind of want to do me. And not all black people have to be Democrats. That's it. I mean, really. That was literally it. And he's speaking out of turn, shouldn't have so much to say, should stay away from politics. I guess I don't understand what the issue is currently. I really don't. I'm still not on this Kanye bandwagon. Mainly because I really don't care. The only real actor that I follow that I take seriously, I guess I would say, would be James Woods. Personally, it's because he's funny and he's just brutal with some of his stuff. But Kanye's sitting there quoting Thomas Sowell and Jordan Peterson, or Thomas Sowell, excuse me, and Jordan Peterson. I'm pretty sure he's starting to take that red pill. Those guys are very prominent people, very prominent conservatives. And Thomas Sowell is just an incredible mind. And Jordan Peterson's really making his name known. So when you're sitting there quoting these people, it's impressive. But then you have the instances in where Kanye props up Emma Gonzalez, which, she survived a tragedy. I will never take that away from her, ever, because I can never come close to claiming that I've even been through anything remotely close to that. However, it doesn't make her an expert on firearms, safety, Second Amendment, anything. Just because she went through a situation. That's my feeling. You survived. That's all you could do at that point. But you're by no means an expert. He sent that tweet propping her up, and I sat there, I'm like, alright. Well, maybe, just maybe, he's not fully there. And it's not a big deal. He's got a big voice, he's got a big platform, he could help the movement. At the same time, these stars, these Hollywood types, they sit there and they tweet all this dumb stuff, and they're all typically liberals that speak out, so that's all really uneducated nonsense. Look at stuff Alyssa Milano's doing, and it's hysterical because she's so uneducated. And the only way Kanye can be taken seriously as a Republican or a conservative is, well, what? His family will end up leaving him. Kim will leave him. She's not going to follow him. Not with that. Not with her platform. That's what made her popular, was just being ditzy and full of plastic. And he'd probably have to change his music style. Which he already did, because he released a song with Kanye. Or not Kanye, with T.I. So, I don't know. But, second story we have, Kanye was on TMZ, and he said just African American slavery was a choice. Now, he didn't say all of it. He said, once you hit 400 years, that was a bit much. Now, this is where I don't think a lot of people are going to agree. In my opinion, I am huge on free will. I'm an avid believer of free will. You choose to live the way you want. If you want to be a piece of garbage and not contribute to society, you're not going to. If you want to sit there in shackles, then you're going to, or you're not. You know, slaves were initially shackled and sold by their own people. And you got on that boat because you decided to. I mean, even if you had a gun to your head, nobody knew at that point what exactly that entailed. But you go from a free, tribe to shackled on a boat, and you do nothing? Now, granted, I don't know. I'm not all that educated about back then. I'll talk about Harriet Tubman here in a moment, but and the exact same thing goes for Jews during the Holocaust. You gave up your arms, you gave up your ammunition, you did what you were told, and you didn't fight back. You got on the train cars, and you took your free will that God gave you, and you just pulled your pants down and just relieved yourself on it. You didn't fight back because 6 million of you were killed. Granted, it wasn't 400 years worth, but 6 million? Gone. And people, you may hate me. You may have stopped listening by now. That's fine. To those of you still going, hang with me. And if you have questions, contact me. I would love to talk to everybody about it. To be clear, both happenings in history are disgusting. I'm not pro any slavery or Holocaust. I'm not pro any of that. Let's get that clear. You look at my Twitter handle and everything that I'm pretty sure I have a header on. I'm very much pro-Israel. I'm not against black people whatsoever. I have, black friends. I have liberal black friends, and I don't have a problem with them. I just don't talk politics with them. It's safer. It's easier. Keep friends. But Harriet Tubman was a badass. I mean, just an absolute badass. But how many other heroes do you hear about when you hear about slavery? Like, I honest to God, I can't recall any. I hear Harriet Tubman, and that's it. That is literally it. If there's more, let me know. I will do a correction on the show next week. I will talk about it. We'll be good. But that's it. And you hear about her barely when you're in school. Barely. And then you go to the Holocaust, and you hear Oskar Schindler. And the first thing you all think of right now is Schindler's List. That's it. Which you should, because that's what it's associated with. But that is it. That's it. And the only reason you know about Oskar Schindler is because of a movie. Think about that. Everybody knows Hitler. Everybody knows a lot of what you could call his cabinet. By him, I mean Hitler. But the only reason you know about a man who saved people is because a movie was made on him. Schindler's not taught in school. Maybe you'll watch Schindler's List in a history class. But he's not taught in school. He's not in a history book. Not in the ones I used to read. So I look at that, and Kanye says something. It was a choice to be for 400 years. You stayed like that for 400 years. You chose that. I mean, you can't help but think about that. And then you come and you find that all this being taught in school is that, the white man, they kept the black man down. 400 years slavery, 400 years slavery. They throw slavery at you everywhere. They barely talk about Harriet Tubman. I just feel like the education is missing an immense amount. Because it wasn't all as bad as it's portrayed. And not a lot of people tried to flee. And those that did, obviously, as movies portray, it's gruesome. And I don't know if that's actually how it went. All I know is what I see in movies from that. And can't believe it all. It's like believing everything you see on the internet. I don't know. Call me crazy, but I feel that we should talk about heroes a little more in our schooling, rather than sit there and just build up the bad guys the way we do and the way we have with Hitler. I don't know. Last story. UC Berkeley panel. Conservatives are to blame for liberals rioting. So, 2017. It's talking about last year. But they just had a panel this year. It's dumb. University of California, Berkeley report on free speech questions the motives of controversial speakers who sparked violent campus clashes last year, saying they were part of a coordinated campaign to make college campuses appear intolerant of conservative views. Interesting. Although those speakers had every right to speak and were entitled to protection, they did not need to be on campus to exercise the right of free speech. Indeed, at least some of the 2017 events at Berkeley can now be seen to be part of a coordinated campaign to organize appearances on American campuses likely to incite a violent reaction in order to advance a facile narrative that universities are not tolerant of conservative speech. Interesting. The report notes that many students and staff felt threatened, not just by the message of the speakers, but by the large police presence required to assure everyone's safety. So, if anybody remembers these riots, because that's what they were. Initially, the initial riot, people were firebombing a Starbucks, I believe. And it was a Starbucks, which is one of the most liberal corporations in America, but it was just really funny to see that its own people was just sitting there and just trashing it, one of its staples. Look at it this way. There wouldn't be a need for such a large police force if Antifa thugs weren't at these protests swinging bike locks and attacking people. And for those of you who don't know, that's a real thing that they do. And the one person in particular that was actually convicted of it was a professor who swung a bike lock at a person, cracked him, opened him up, and he needed stitches. And they found him because he was on a recording. They had it recorded. It was a professor. It was somebody who's teaching your children. Is going around, parading around in a mask with children. He's probably parading around in the kids he teaches, swinging a bike lock and opening up somebody's head that has a different opinion than he does. I like Ben Shapiro. And if anybody that's listening knows anything about him, knows that Ben really isn't an intimidating figure. I cannot count on how many times Ben Shapiro would stay. He stated on his show, on his podcast, all the time, that if people were showing up and had any intention of being hostile towards the Antifa or the other liberal pieces of trash that were there, just don't go. He literally said, "Don't go. I don't want you there. Don't." All it does is play into their hand. He said that. And I know he said that because I listen to him every day. He called for peace in order to speak. He never once called for violence against these basement-dwelling children. He didn't. And it's exactly what they are. Those of you know, even the Proud Boys stopped going to a large-scale liberal protest to avoid the spotlight. They were getting called racist just because they were defending themselves. All they would do is stand there and hold the flag, love America, and then you got guys in pajamas and, ski masks or bandanas coming around and sitting there bike locking you, bear mace, oh my God, pepper spray. And that's what they are. These guys run around with gallons of milk. I guess milk helps I believe it's the pepper spray. And they defend themselves and they get called racist and far and alt-right. Oh, that phrase is hysterical. I've listened to everybody talk. People, across the Republican spectrum, far right, center right, and even libertarians, and not a single one of them has ever called for violence against liberals, against the left, against Democrats at all. Especially those who show up at these protests looking to commit violence against people who simply don't share the same views, and that's it. That's exactly what it is. They don't want violence. They just want to talk, and that's it. They want to be able to carry out their First Amendment right and just talk, and that's it. People differ in views all the time. A lot of conservatives, Republicans, they differ in views a lot. And I think that's a big part of the problem going on right now with the Republican Party. But it doesn't mean that violence should be committed in order to convert or silence anybody. That's Marxism. And that will keep the over 100 million death toll from the last century going strong. That is it for today. Thank you all for tuning in. Once again, God bless you. God bless America. Please don't forget to follow me on Twitter at liberal_letdown. Send me your hate mail, ideas, stories. If you want to have a conversation, I am more than willing to talk to you. Gmail, theliberalletdown@gmail.com. And don't forget to find me on Gab and the Red Society. I will be there as the Liberal Letdown.